Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the public forum for the meeting of Wingecarribee Council on Wednesday, the 21st of February. If you could turn off your mobile phones or put them on silent if you don't mind. Of course, this is being recorded and it's on the website live, so anyone who makes presentations should be aware of that fact. And we have three people who wish to address Council today. The first one being Mr. Marty Mangro in relation to the scoping report to include land in Wattle Street, Colo Vale within the local housing strategy. If you'd like to come forward, please. Have you done this before? You just push the red button and you're away. And look, there's only three people, so don't worry about time.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon all, Chairperson, Mr. Administrator. My name is Marty Magro. I represent and I'm one of the 7 members of the Wattle Street Colo Vale Ownership Group and wish to comment on the report before you at item 8.1. The rezoning of the land for residential purposes at Colo Vale has been topical for a number of years. More recently, the former council rejected the Wensleydale new suburb proposal and expressed a commitment to an infill development expansion strategy for Colo Vale. This followed a previous rejection by council of the Wensleydale proposal around 2006 and a further rejection sometime before that. When the local housing strategy was being finalised in 2021, council staff recommended our infill proposal of 12 hectares not be supported. The Independent Advisory Planning Assessment Panel on July 2021 overturned such recommendation and suggested that our site was suitable for further investigation as future infill development opportunity for Colo Vale, noting the close proximity to existing residential development and being adjacent to the school. Council adopted such recommendation at its ordinary meeting of the 14th of July 2021. To fulfil the suggested investigation, we prepared a scoping report as a council instructed pathway and as promoted by senior council staff of the day. Once in possession of these reports, it was noted in council's scoping report response that confirmed council's endorsement for our site as infill development. Concurrently, at the meeting of the 17th of January 2023, senior council staff of the day confirmed that we would be added to the LHS as an addendum in late March, early April 2023. There were no conditions. The instruction was inaccurately recorded. The council staff, to our utter disbelief, prepared a briefing report to the local planning panel of meeting 24th of January 2024, which is 1 year after, recommending that the site did not show site-specific or strategic merit and was undesirable for a range of reasons. To have a recommendation written in capital letters is unfathomable to us, to say the least. The report stated in capital letters not to be supported and also in capital letters not to be considered further. The local planning panel supported this view with the information they were presented. In the absence of detailed site inspection and access to the full suite of underpinning environmental investigations which were predominantly supportive of our case. The council staff under new leadership also recommended that a holistic and strategic place plan be developed for Colo Vale. This approach was never discussed with our group and took us by absolute surprise. We responded to a suggested pathway and recommended that the panel defer consideration of our proposal to enable a further review in the proposed community-led holistic place plan context. Council staff and the panel following suit sought to further preempt the place plan outcome by maintaining a sole commitment to Wensleydale as Colo Vale's future growth strategy. Disappointment is too mild a term for what we believe has been acted out in some of the council staff as continued opposition to our site's potential to contribute sensitively to the housing market challenge that confronts us today. Our proposal is for a minimum of 1,000 square metre allotments compared to the Wensleydale proposal, which has small lots and is not in character in the village. They are two different products. In conclusion, we request that as administrator performing the function of council, that you initially note our concerns with the planning process that has unfolded over recent years in respect of this site. Also review these concerns as potentially reflecting a lack of due process. Defer consideration of the scoping report proposal for the Waller Street precinct. Encourage the review of the proposal with a more nuanced place-based focus for consideration in the foreshadowed holistic strategic place plan for Colo Vale. Reinforce Council's commitment to developing a holistic and strategic place plan for Colo Vale as an action in the Strategic Outcomes Work Program for 24-25. Establish a policy position that Wensleydale site not be independently promoted as the focus for future urban growth in Colo Vale. And the Wensleydale site be objectively considered in the context of the proposed Colo Vale strategic place plan and also be subject to community engagement. I reiterate that we are seeking deferment of the proposal as opposed to it not being supported, and that a revised version can be considered in future planning context. I'd like to thank you all for your time.
Yeah, look, I have your letter that the consultant sent. I've got questions of the officers later on, particularly in relation to recommendation 2. I just want to better understand what the panel is trying to say there. And no doubt the officer will take on board what you're saying and will address those matters when he presents the item to council. Yes. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next person is Mr. David Matthews, speaking in relation to a minor variation to Natai Ponds voluntary planning agreement.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. May and Ms. McCampbell and other executive members of the council. As you know, I'm David Matthews and I'm a senior town planner at King & Campbell, here on behalf of Falkirk and PTY Ltd. In respect of Natai Ponds Planning Agreement Amendment, Council is considering under item 8.2 of this meeting's agenda. Falkirk is the other party to the planning agreement other than Council, and I would like to express on their behalf that the recommendation in the agenda is fully supported. It is agreed that the variation is minor in nature and that likely stems from an oversight dating back to the original drafting of the planning agreement that required an 11 metre wide pavement and 2.5 metre wide pathways on a road reserve that is not able to accommodate both the footpath and road pavement width contemplated in the VPA at that time. Our client has agreed to a suggestion by the council to provide landscaping in addition to the works envisaged for Beresford Street as additional public benefit in lieu of the wider road pavement originally stated in the planning agreement. We are glad that council has agreed to a sensible outcome in respect to the landscaping in lieu of the wider pavement, as previously mentioned, could not be achieved. The recommendation that the amendment does not require public notification is supported due to the minor nature of the matter, and note that the local planning panel supported this recommendation at their meeting of the 24th of January 2024. We express our support for the General Manager being granted delegated authority to sign the amending deed to enable this matter to be concluded as soon as possible and to enable final approval to be issued for the Beresford Street works to satisfy the conditions of the Section 138 approval related to those works. On behalf of our client, I would also like to thank Mr. Dennis Kulik, Executive Manager of Strategic Outcomes, for working with us on this matter and arranging a meeting earlier this month on the 12th to resolve other matters related to the Natai Ponds Planning Agreement, including the dedication of land, handover of a playground and finalisation of the Beresford Street works to conclude the obligations under this planning agreement. Thank you for letting us address you this evening, and we look forward to working with Council to finalise the amending deed.
Are you the gentleman who phoned me? some weeks ago about this?
No. That may have been Richard Anderson? I'm not, I don't, I'm
Or
not-
someone
aware.
from the planning consortium, and I said I just couldn't become involved because a mayor or a councillor, same as administrator, cannot influence council officers. And, you know, this is played out, obviously, to your satisfaction. But if I had have started talking to people, I would have to declare an interest and not vote. And we would have had a problem. So you might just take back to whoever it was who, I wasn't buried, and I tried to explain the difficult situation that councillors can get into in relation to these matters. So it's just a lesson, I suppose, along the way that a mayor or a council or administrator can't influence or fetter professional officers in their exercise of their function.
That's fine. I'll take those recommendations back to
Yeah,
our
well, it's
client.
it's just an observation.
Yes.
This one's played out, it looks like, that everyone's happy. So you win some, you lose some.
That's good, yes.
That's planning, but it's all done on merit. And the professional officers at the end of the day, I believe, know what they're doing. So it's just that observation.
Yes. No, I believe they were struggling to get some communication originally happening on certain items, but as I said, we thank Dennis for arranging the meeting that we had last week, and that now seems to have opened those communication channels, and everything seems to be going well at this point in time.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I've
thank
seen actually on the train on the left-hand side going back to Sydney, it looks like you're all ready to go pretty well, is it?
Yes, I believe it's very close.
Yeah.
I think we received I was just looking this morning because I've been travelling. We received an email, I think, from the assets managers in regards to taking the park. There's a few things that they need to be fixed in terms of that assets, because it's been sitting there for a little bit. But just to fix it up, I think there was a few items that just needed some repair and maintenance before it's sort of handed over, but I think that'll occur, and the project manager running that will sort that out very soon.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The third one is Mr. Peter Cunningham, who is speaking in relation to item 9.3, the Environment and Climate Change Strategy report.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Peter Cunningham. I live on the Jib in Bowral, and among other things, an experienced civil engineer. So I'll just read straight from this, and then I'll give you a copy. Opening comment. Crucial to my presentation is to warn Council that the current environmental strategy is based on false information. To correct that information required me to present a very short audio-visual from NASA regarding the 2023 global data that was used in their supercomputer to model a year's actual movements of CO2 in both hemispheres. I have thrice been stopped presenting factual information by coordinators' governance. The first cited copyrighted justification. That I immediately proved was invalid. Then, Council does not broadcast third-party material. I wasn't aware of that. So I chose instead to provide a short 1-minute video file containing 2 URLs at NASA for people to check in their own time. That I sent via email, but it too was refused. But at the 11th hour, it was approved. Back on the topic. The purpose of me bothering with this...
I just stop you there for a second. The council's officer's job is to ensure that the policies of the council are adhered to, and I have no doubt they were doing their jobs. The way you've explained it to me is they're doing their job in accordance with the policy. So you get to the real issue now, but I just wanted to make that observation.
Okay, that's fine. But I wasn't aware that Council does not broadcast, in fact I don't know how many people are, does not broadcast third-party material. In this case, the material is crucial to me presenting a case, and that case relates directly to the Council's environmental strategy. So it's a shame that I wasn't able to, but I can provide it to Council. In fact, the URL I'll provide very soon. Anyway, the purpose of me bothering is to, 1, demonstrate that the persistent official orchestrated lies, this I'm not talking about here at Council, have led to misinformed and alarmed public, which includes people at Council. It is the basis of this environmental strategy I now challenge. 2, to demonstrate that Council is doing a Don Quixote. because said misinformation is grossly in error, and unless corrected, the result can only further waste taxpayers' or ratepayers' funds for nil gain. 3, to show that the basis of council aims is wrong. Quote, "We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to minimise the extent of climate change," and the second part, "also adjust the way we do things to adapt to the already changing climate." As you'll see, I'm not arguing about the last part of that because it's a sensible thing. Regarding the first part of Council's aims, the official lie is that Australia can manipulate climate change by reducing emissions of a trace gas. That top-down political decree has never been substantiated. Hence the continual predictive modelling that is constantly well removed from observed data. The NASA research I hope to present confirms the irrelevance of Australia in emissions except in bushfires. That is why it is of such importance to derail the environmental strategy until it is corrected and restructured. Regarding the second part, adapting to constantly changing climate has been a historical fact for hundreds of thousands of years. It's not new. We will adapt as there is no choice. So some of what Council chooses to do is sensible. Absurdly, all is immediately offset by forced increases in local population. So what is the truth? Could you whip up the, thank you. So what is the truth? The NASA modelling by Dr. Bill Putman of 2023 data shows that Australia's actual greenhouse emissions are so utterly insignificant that the NASA CO2 does not even register to be modelled. Let that sink in. This is a stark contrast to the official green narrative that Council is enthusiastically pursuing. That is why I wanted to introduce fact and perspective. The information you'll see up on the screen, so if anyone wants to make a note of the URLs, there it is, it's available. There's the Fellows qualifications in part. In order to avoid reading out his qualifications, I want to provide the 2 simple URLs. I've just said that. Anyway, related to emissions, to bring things into perspective, at 0.33% of the world's population, whatever we do to slay the engineered CO2 demon can have no effect. Again, that's proved in that audio visual from NASA. And that 0.33% includes the entire population of New Zealand. So again, to put it in perspective, even if the entire population of Australia and New Zealand were dead, i.e. 100% nil emissions, it is simple mathematics that our combined demise would have absolutely nil effect on the climate. Even Alan Finkel, the former chief scientist, said whatever Australia does can have virtually nothing effect on the climate. Thus, the basis of Council's environmental strategy is entirely invalid. So why does Council hinder the truth to fuel a path of hardship and self-destruction? Finally, Council have an obligation to ratepayers to be properly informed and consider facts and perspective, not again behave as yet another bureaucratic lemming. Therefore, before the strategy can be finalised, the entire needs to be deconstructed and rebuilt with numerous corrections that incorporates reality and be a model for other councils in this country that are slavishly following the top-down dictates from federal government. That cannot happen without critical outside review, which from my experience on this type of matter will never happen due to the depth of systemic green infection. Thus, Australians will continue to be misinformed and abused by politicians and bureaucrats subservient to the so-called United Nations, and on this subject, it's Agenda 2030, of which the notion of sustainability is part. So no, until this draft strategy is re-engineered to reflect reality, then it should not proceed. That's it.
Okay, I respect your view, and we'll deal with the matter in a few minutes.
It wouldn't be a view if you saw the video.
I have heard the argument about the country's minimal emissions before, so I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to be heard about any matter on the business paper? Okay, we'll just about 8 minutes, we'll start the council meeting. Thank you.